Stella, Splash, Simba, Boo, Sammy, Richard, Nancy, Goldie, Ziggy, Ringo, Eva, Hydrox, and Ditto, the Lucky Ferals.
It's 8 a.m. Good morning, Boo. Did you sleep okay, Boo? Boo was here all night. I got up in the middle of the night a few times, and at one point, I just was like, okay, I got to make a list of things I need to do, or things I need to get for Stella, because I want to bring her more food to try today, but I think I need to go to like the Dollar Tree and maybe buy more of the little plastic spoons, like the little baby spoons that she likes to eat out of. Maybe some little like storage containers so I could try out different types of food for her and easily bring them there. The thing is, like anything I bring there, I have to, be able to like leave there and not worry about never seeing it again. Here's Simba. Simba jumped on my bed in the middle of the night and was hanging out there for a little while. I gave him some pom-poms with catnip, but he didn't really play with them. Hello, Simba. Hopefully Stella continues to do well today. I hope. Right now, I still have anxiety. It was much less yesterday once I saw Stella, and like when I came back from the animal hospital, like on a scale of 1 to 10, my anxiety was probably down to like a 5. Today it's back up a little bit because, in my mind it's like you never know what happens overnight, but I'm probably at like a 7 right now. Also, I just need to get moving and need to start doing stuff. I almost got up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and I was going to be like, okay, I'm up, I'm ready. But I was like, no, I need to just continue to rest. I need, to make sure that I'm taking care of myself also. And I need to get plenty of rest. So I did end up falling back asleep. But now I need to get moving. What's happening is I'm just feeling like I'm full of adrenaline. I feel like my adrenaline has been turned on. It hasn't been turned off. So it's just like I'm totally running on adrenaline right now. I hate that feeling. I just hate the feeling. It is 10 a.m. and here's Boo. And I was able to actually eat breakfast today, which I am so proud of because yesterday I could not stomach food at all. And today I was able to eat something, so I made myself eggs on a roll. Yesterday when I was at the supermarket, I picked up some hard rolls with poppy seeds on them because poppy seeds potentially could have a calming effect on somebody. So I figured that would be good. Yesterday I made like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on one, again, because I just wanted something that was going to be easy to digest and eat. And then today, I actually had an appetite this morning and I was like, I'm just going to make an egg sandwich. So I just kept it really simple. And that's what I had. And I had an orange. And now I need some water or juice. And then I'm good to go. I'm going to make breakfast for the cats. And then I'm going to start putting stuff together to go see Stella. I've been working on a tablet for her. Because when I was there yesterday, I gave her my phone and I was playing that Music for Cats CD that the cats really relax to. I was also playing her some of the Lucky Feral videos because she really seemed to enjoy watching that. I guess she hears my voice and she sees the other cats. So she really liked that. And then it seemed to relax her enough that she, laid down and she closed her eyes and she was going to take a nap. So unfortunately, the tablet that I'm using does not have an YouTube app on it. I'm using like one of those Amazon Fire tablets. I've had this one for years and I just reset it and I put the music albums on, no problem, because I could get that from Amazon Music, but I can't get the YouTube app. So I think for now it'll be good enough. I'm going to leave it there in her cage with the music playing. We're going to put it on repeat and I'll just have those 2 albums playing nonstop for her. I'm just going to put it on really low, not loud or anything. And hopefully that'll help her. Hopefully she's doing better today. I'm doing better today, so that's good. I hope she's doing better also. The goal is to try to get her to eat something, so I need to put together a variety of foods that I could bring over there. But I'm hoping that since I left some foods and treats for her, that she's actually has eaten something this morning. Right, Bo? Okay, let's have breakfast. You want breakfast? Let me show you what else I've been taking to deal with this stress. So this is andrographis, and this is an amazing immune system booster. Whenever I feel like I might be coming down with something, I take this. I take 1 capsule in the morning and 1 capsule at night, and this works great. So if I'm in a situation where I feel like my immunity needs a boost, this works wonderful for that. So I took one of these early this morning, and then I'll take another one at night. I'm also taking some adrenal glandulars to help my adrenal glands, because adrenal glands produce adrenaline, and I feel like mine are working overtime right now, so this helps to support them. The other thing that I'm taking, it's hard to film this because Boo keeps wanting to walk underneath. Look, do you see what he keeps doing? I don't know why he keeps doing that. Anyway, the other thing that I'm taking is this bone and connective tissue support capsules. These are amazing. I started taking these about 10 years ago to strengthen my joints, but what I noticed as a side effect was that these completely eliminated any seasonal depression or like seasonal affective disorder. Like I have that in the winter when I don't get enough sunshine. And if I don't prepare for it throughout the year, then it could be really bad. Like this year has been pretty bad because I didn't prepare for it because I was working so much this past year. But if I prepare for it by getting lots of sunshine and lots of outdoor activities throughout the year, it's not so bad in the winter. But when I take this, it's non-existent. Like I could get through the winter feeling absolutely perfectly. Like I don't get that, that down feeling that you get with all the darkness. And right now it's usually like the worst part of the winter. January is usually the worst part of the winter because it's easy to get through like the Christmas season, although sometimes that's difficult because it's so dark. Like that's the darkest time of the year. And now the days are getting longer and we can finally feel like maybe spring will be here soon. But any vitamin D reserves that were left in our body are like really low by this point, especially if you're not supplementing with that. And I found that these work even better than taking like vitamin D through the winter. These are amazing. So anytime I need any mood support, anytime I need like a boost in morale, I take these. And now these don't make you feel like you're on anything. They just support your body. That's all they do. This is what I've been taking. I take 2 of these in the morning and then I've been taking 2 at night. No, I don't take these all the time. I just take them when I need like a mental boost. I did take these occasionally this past winter, but now dealing with the Stella situation, I'm taking these like twice a day. I also have my vitamin D drops to make sure that I'm keeping my immunity strong, magnesium glycinate to help with relaxation, and then these liquid vitamin B drops. So when I woke up in the middle of the night and I started making lists of things I need to do today, I could not fall back asleep. So what I did was I took half a dropper full of this and then it relaxed me and I fell back asleep. It is 4 p.m. and here's Boo. How you doing, Boo? I just got back from the animal hospital. I probably got to the animal hospital around 12:30 and I was there for about 3 hours. I'm really not happy with the way Stella is being handled today. So when I first got there, they wanted to let me know that things were not going as well as they were last night. So when I left there last night, everything was stable. Things were doing good. It looked fine. I get there this morning and they took her blanket out of her cage. They took her cat bed out of her cage. I don't know if they were doing the laundry or what. And then one of the girls there told me that they shaved her belly and her hind legs because she had peed on herself. Well, the reason why she peed on herself probably is because they have one of her hind legs practically in a big cast. Like she could hardly move around in it at all. She's hooked up to, the IV, the insulin, and they have a small litter box, but it has like only a tiny bit of pellets in it. So I asked them if I could bring litter for her because she's not going to use the litter that they have there. She doesn't like that litter. So they said I could bring the litter that she's used to. Then they also told me that they disconnected her feeding tube. And I was like, why are you doing that? And they said because they gave her some like an appetite stimulant and they wanted to see if she would eat by herself. So I just happened to show up perfect timing with a whole bunch of food to try to get her to eat. But of course, she didn't want to eat any of it because she's not feeling well. She's stressed out and she's supposed to be on a feeding tube. Eventually, what I realized is that I thought Stella would let me give her some food in a syringe, like syringe feeder. And I was able to do that. But they told me, like, only give her very little bits and make sure she's swallowing. So that's what I did. I gave her like a tiny bit and like she swallowed, and a tiny bit and she swallowed, and a tiny bit and she swallowed. So she ended up eating, I don't know, 3 or 4 milliliters of food. It wasn't a lot at all. And then they are taking like blood once an hour to check on her and just see what her levels are. And I felt really bad because then another little dog came in and he was just pooping blood. Like it was just straight blood coming out of him, like gobs of blood. And so they had him in an oxygen chamber kind of next to Stella. So after I, force fed Stella a little bit, I decided that I'm just going to leave. I saw she wanted to like lay down and take a nap, and that I think it's good for her to take a nap. So what I did was I took some towels and I hung the towels over the front of the cage because I think she needs some darkness. I think she needs some peace and quiet. She's never going to get any rest or relaxation if she's in the middle of a brightly lit room with all kinds of noise going on around her. Like, that's just not going to happen. So hopefully by putting the towels over the front of the cage, she'll be able to rest and get some sleep. Because whenever I'm there, she's not sleeping. And I even asked the vet. It's a different vet today. It's this like really young vet. I don't even know if he knows what he's doing. Because I got the feeling that he's just too inexperienced. He doesn't know what he's doing. Because I kept hearing him like on the phone trying to figure out, what he needs to do with regards to Stella. And what I ended up doing is I ended up calling the vet that the cats go to. And I left a message there because I think the office is closed. And then the vet called me back and I told him my concerns. Also, I specifically suggested that they give Stella a B12 shot because I think it would be good for her. And I've heard of a lot of people using B12 shots on cats if they're not doing very well. And then it really, helps them improve and perks up their appetite. So the doctor told me he needed to research that. Oh, I'll have to do some research on that. So then I talked to my vet about it, and my vet said, well, he doesn't think it would be a bad idea because it's a water-soluble vitamin, and he doesn't think like it could hurt. And he says it's, worth trying. But then, of course, he's not there to do it. So I asked if he could please reach out to somebody there and talk to them and make sure that they're giving Stella the best care that she could get. Because I really felt like the people there today were not giving her good care at all. Now, what they told me was that her vitals are okay, like her heartbeat's okay, her pulse, like all that stuff's okay. That's what they told me. But they said she's having trouble with her electrolytes. Her electrolytes are low. They're having trouble, keeping them where they need to be. So that's where it stands. Stella's not happy, obviously, because of the situation, but I'm hoping that we could get through this. And I'm hoping that when I go back there in a few hours, I'll be able to force feed her some better quality food. I have a can of Instinct kitten pate, so I'd like to do that. I want to make sure she's getting adequate calories, and hopefully the night shift, they change shifts around 7:30. Hopefully the night shift will be a lot better people. But today, I just don't like the people there at all. Here's Boo, and I'm in the middle of editing this video that you're watching right now. And I just realized that I don't have any more footage of what happened the rest of the day. The reason why is because I was so busy and so stressed out, and I had so much anxiety, I just completely forgot to film anything. So what happened was, a few hours later, I received a phone call from the emergency room. And it was not the vet that was on duty that day. It was a vet that was on duty a previous day. And she was telling me that she thought it would be best for Stella to be transferred to a specialist at another animal hospital. And she gave me a choice of 2 animal hospitals. One of them I've been to before with Stella, with Hydrox, with Ditto, with Simba. And it's relatively close by, so I chose that one. So she said to me, when are you going to come and pick her up? And I thought maybe that they had like a little vet ambulance or something that would transfer her, but no, they require like pet parents to come and do the transfer. So I was like, well, I could be there at about 6:30. She called me at around 5:30, and I had just been putting food together for the cats, and I needed to just, get my things together and get over there. So I gave myself an hour to do that. I was like, I'll be there at 6:30. So as soon as I got off the phone with her, I immediately called Stella's vet, the vet that, the cats go to. And I left him a message. And like a minute later, he called me back and he said that he was on hold with the emergency room when I was leaving him a message. And he also told me that he thought it was a good idea for Stella to be transferred out of there and see a specialist at the local animal hospital. And that's why he was calling the emergency room. And I said, well, it looks like everyone has the same idea at the same time. So like I was really hopeful with that. And I was relieved. I was so relieved that Stella was getting out of there because it was such a nightmare that day. I can't even tell you how poorly she was treated that day. The vet tech that was there that day gave me so much attitude for no reason, because when I went there, I was so super polite to everyone and like accommodating. And I just kept my mouth shut because I'm like, I don't want to cause problems with any of these people here. I want Stella to get the best care possible. So I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do. And, I'm going to ask questions because as a customer and a cat parent, it is my right to know what's going on. But, I'm not going to be rude or anything. Well, this vet tech really had me on the verge of being rude because not only did she shave Stella's belly and legs instead of properly cleaning her and caring for her, she just gave me so much attitude. Like when I asked for a syringe, I was like, can I have a syringe to try to syringe feed Stella? Because what I was doing, I was finger feeding her. I put some food on my finger and I was like putting it in her mouth and Stella was taking it and actually swallowing it. So I was like, wow, that's a great sign because she would not do that at home. Stella would not do that at home. She would literally fight me, spit stuff out, and there would be like food all over the room. But she was doing it there. So I was like, okay, this is great. I could probably syringe feed her. So I asked the vet tech, I was like, can I please have a syringe so I could try to syringe feed her? And the vet tech was literally like, well, why would you want to do that? And I was like, because it's pretty standard and commonplace when it comes to feeding cats that don't want to eat. And she's eating off my fingers. So I think it would be better to feed her off a syringe. And she's like, well, I'm going to have to ask the vet about it. And I was like, okay. So then I waited, and then a while later, she hands me a syringe. She's like, here, and just make sure you don't feed her too much. And I was like, okay, well, can you tell me how much I could feed her? And then she didn't answer me. And I was like, can you tell me how much she's already eaten today? And she didn't answer me. So I was like, okay, whatever. And I was able to syringe feed Stella very small amounts of food, some of the baby food that I brought with me, some of the other food that I brought with me. But because I did not know how much she already had through the feeding tube or how much I was allowed to feed her, I didn't know if I was giving her too much or too little or whatever. And the vet tech was not helping me. So I was just really super frustrated with that. Not happy at all. And the other thing that happened that day is, so during the 3 days that I was there, every single day they were taking blood out of Stella. It seemed like every hour, but it was probably more like every hour and a half or every 2 hours. And they were not just taking a little bit of blood. It wasn't like, pricking a finger and doing a blood test like, a diabetic does. They were taking out vials of blood that were like this big. I saw them take so many vials of blood out of Stella over those 3 days that on that third day, I stood there watching them take blood out of Stella and thinking to myself, my gosh, she's not going to have any blood left. That's literally what I thought. Like, she's not going to have any blood left. So that's why I was so relieved when they were like, we think it's best to transfer her to another animal hospital. So I get there at 6:30 and I walk into where Stella's cage is and I hear like beeping and I'm like, what's the beeping noise? And that vet tech says to me, well, it's her feeding tube. She's being fed right now. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, that's kind of weird. Like, why did they wait to feed her like right before I'm supposed to transfer her. Like, isn't she supposed to be monitored when she's on this feeding tube? Like, what if her like values or levels change? Like, she's not going to be here. She's not going to be monitored. Like, she's going to be in the process of being transferred somewhere. So I wasn't happy with that. They put Stella in her carrier, and I remember picking up the carrier, and the vet tech was like right near me, and I thanked her. I was like, oh, thank you for your help with Stella. And all she says to me really nastily is, good luck. And it was the kind of thing where I picked up Stella's carrier and I went to walk out to the front area, like to pay the bill. And it was like I could hear her thinking, yeah, you're going to need it. That's how nasty this woman was. Like, I can't even call her a woman. Like, literally, she was a bitch. But I had to keep myself being super polite and, respectful. So I brought Stella up to the front, and I did bring a towel with me to put over the carrier because I was very worried about her because, they shaved off half of her fur, and it was 30 degrees outside that night. Now, Sharon made a beautiful cover for that carrier, but with everything that was going on, I could not remember where I put it. It's in a closet somewhere, but I couldn't remember where. So I just grabbed a towel and I cut a hole in the middle of it so it would go over the handle, and that's what I used. I was like, a towel should be warm. So I sat up near reception with Stella in the carrier, and Stella was putting her paws through the front of the carrier like she wanted to get out of the carrier.
Stella, you're such a good girl. I love you so much, baby. Put your paw inside.
So I opened the door and I was petting her. I was like petting her head, and she literally tried to crawl out of the carrier. And I was like, Stella, you have to stay in the carrier, because she had the feeding tube in her nose. She had like this thing around her neck. She had another line going into her neck. And then she still had the catheter in her leg where they were taking all of the blood. So I was like, Stella, you got to stay in the carrier. We're going to be leaving soon. She was just so happy. She was so happy to be leaving there. So I paid the bill. And the people that worked there, like every single person that worked there that day, was just so cold and completely lacking in any type of human compassion whatsoever. Like, it was a nightmare, like an absolute nightmare. So I get Stella in the car and we drive to the other animal hospital. And when we get to the other animal hospital, it was a 180-degree difference between the animal hospital and the emergency room. The animal hospital was just like so calm. It's like, first of all, it's much bigger than this emergency room. And it was so calm. It was such a calming environment. And they had a triage nurse come right out to meet me because, the emergency room let them know that I was on my way. So the triage nurse comes out to meet me, and I knew right away she was a cat person, and I was explaining everything to her, and she was just so kind and compassionate. And what happened was I was telling her about, how Stella was treated at the emergency room, like all these big dogs. She's afraid of big dogs, strange people. She had no sleep, the bright lights, the noise. And this is how good they are at this other animal hospital. All of a sudden, someone walked in with a German Shepherd, like a big German Shepherd. The dog was barking, and I was immune to it. I was immune to it because of all the time that I spent in the emergency room where it was like super loud, dogs constantly barking, like all kinds of chaos. This triage nurse immediately said, there's a big dog here. Let me take Stella in the back. I don't want her getting more stressed out than she is. So she took Stella out to the back, and I was like, okay, I finished, doing like whatever you need to do, like the paperwork or whatever to have her admitted. And then I went to their waiting room. Their waiting room is like the size of the entire emergency room at the other place. But it is so calm and so peaceful. And I sat there and I was like, oh my God, it is like a day and night difference. Like, it was just so different. And I was so angry that I did not bring Stella there to begin with. I was like, why did I not bring Stella here to begin with? I just was beating myself up over that. But, I had been there in the past, and I've also been to the emergency room in the past. I honestly thought Stella would get treated quicker at the emergency room because when I've been there before with like Boo or even Stella in the past, they've gotten seen right away. Whereas at the other animal hospital, sometimes I've been there like 5 hours waiting for a cat to be seen. So I think that really contributed to deciding to take Stella to the emergency room. But based on what happened with Stella in the emergency room, I will never, ever take another cat there. And I would advise anyone with a cat to never, ever take their cat to an open concept veterinary emergency room. I'm not naming names. That business model should be banned. It is so traumatic to cats. So what happened was they took Stella to the back, and I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I was trying to relax in the waiting room. And the next thing I know, there's a woman coming out, and she's saying, like, who's here for Stella? Is someone here for Stella the cat? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. So she comes over to me, and she says, I just want to let you know that we're getting her stabilized, and then we'll be bringing you back to one of the exam rooms. And I was like, well, what do you mean stabilized? And she says, well, Stella's blood pressure went low, so we want to make sure she's stabilized before you come back into an exam room. And I was like, okay. And I was like, do you know how long that's going to take? She's like, it could take 20 minutes or it could take over an hour. I'm sorry, I can't tell you. And I was like, okay, well, thank you. So obviously my anxiety increases even more. I had a very, very hard time sitting still. So I figured, like, let me get up and let me see if I could find some kind of food or something to drink, some kind of juice or something. So I went up to the front desk and I asked the women there, I was like, do you guys have any vending machines? And she's like, no, I'm sorry, we don't. Like, we should. People ask us about that, but unfortunately we don't. And she's like, there's a pizza place a few blocks away if you want to go there. And I was like, I don't think I could even stomach a slice of pizza. Like, I was so nauseous. So she's like, well, we might have some goldfish crackers in our break room if you want me to get you those. And I was like, I don't even think I could stomach goldfish crackers, but thank you anyway. So I went outside and I went to my car, and thankfully I threw in a container of coconut water. Like, when I was putting together stuff to bring to the emergency room for Stella, I threw coconut water in there for myself, figuring, well, you know, I'm not eating anything, but at least I could drink that. It's kind of like a natural electrolyte drink. So I got that out of my car, and I grabbed some more of the ginger candies, and that's how I made it through waiting at the animal hospital. Eventually, I was called back to an exam room, and a very nice vet came out to tell me what was going on. She said, obviously, Stella's in critical condition, and one of the first things she told me was that Stella had no blood. They just did a blood test and she has no blood. So I literally said to her, how could that be? She just had a blood test a few days ago at the emergency room. Everything was fine. And now all of a sudden she has no blood. And she's like, yeah. And then she told me that, like, her level was like a 33. A few days prior, now it was like a 26. And I said to her, I said, it's because they literally took her blood out of her. And I was explaining to her how much blood they were taking out of her at the emergency room. And, you know, I think vets have like this code where they don't badmouth other vets, where they don't badmouth other businesses, because she just kind of kept her mouth shut and didn't really say much. She told me that normally if they're doing an hourly blood test, they're not going to take out that much blood. It's just going to be like a little bit to test the level. And I was like, no, they were taking out vials of blood. Every single time they took blood, they took a vial of blood out. So she went over various treatment options with me, and, you know, they had a whole list of things that they could do for Stella. And once again, I totally regretted the fact that I did not bring Stella there to begin with, because they just have so many more things that they can do there versus the emergency room. She explained the cost to me. She goes, you know, we're starting at $10,000 and we're going up to about $21,000. And I agreed to it without hesitation for two reasons. One, because I knew I had a credit card that had a zero balance that I would be able to put it on. And the other reason is what I told her. And I said, you know, I could always make more money. I could always make more money and pay off a vet bill. I can't make another Stella. So I want to give her every chance that I could give her. So that's what I agreed to. I had to put a deposit down on it. And she said, before you go, I want to walk you back to where Stella is, so, you know, you could see that she's resting comfortably. And I got to go to a part of this animal hospital that I've never been to before. It was gigantic. The equipment there made the emergency room look like a nursery school. Basically, this was like a legit animal hospital. Like, anything that an animal could possibly need was at this animal hospital. It was just gigantic. And the The professionalism of the staff there was what I would expect from the professionalism in an animal hospital. Like, everyone was serious about their job. They're compassionate toward the animals. And it just really felt like you were in a hospital versus the emergency room, which was like a bunch of college kids who were playing and pretending they were vets. I felt much better with the new facility that Stella was in. And they walked me up to her and, she explained to me Stella's condition. And Stella was on oxygen. She had like a cup of oxygen in front of her nose. And she was laying there very peacefully. The first thing that I thought when I saw Stella was, wow, she's just so much happier here. And they had a blanket over her, obviously, because she was shaved at the other place. And they did everything that they could to make her really, really comfortable. Now, at this time, when I was seeing Stella, I knew in my mind that that could be the last time that I saw Stella. Because at this point, it's like 11:30 p.m., midnight. I don't know. It was like really, really late. I knew Stella's condition was very delicate. And, anything could happen overnight. So that's when I talked to Stella and I had a conversation with her. And I basically had a conversation like it was going to be the last conversation that I ever had with her, because I did not know if she was going to make it through the night. I spent a good amount of time with her. And then eventually I decided, okay, well, I'll just let Stella try to get some rest, or maybe she'll get some sleep. They showed me the room that she would be in. And again, it was just so different from the emergency room. It was similar in the fact that it was a room with, cages along like 3 walls, but they told me that there's staff there 24/7, and it was like a separate room, a separate, quieter room. Like, obviously any of the animals in it would be making noise, but it wasn't like people coming in off the street with an emergency type of noise. So I felt so much better that Stella would be in a much calmer, quieter place. And they also let me know that someone would be calling me the next day to talk to me about visiting hours. And they said that if her condition worsened overnight, that I would get a phone call. So that's how I left the animal hospital that day. I put the deposit on a credit card. At that point, I had 2 credit cards that were basically completely maxed out. And I came home and I made sure all of the cats were okay. I scooped litter boxes. I gave everyone water. And that was how Stella's 3rd day in the emergency room ended.
Thank you for watching this Lucky Ferals video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you'd like me to post more videos, and please make sure to check out these other videos that were selected especially for you.